let me Hollywood for you, Ernie.
Oh, here we go. Here comes
Hollywood.
Caleb's
Go ahead and Hollywood.
script
Yeah.
for New Jack 2.
It's some long lost son that he had with some random stripper on a random night. There you go. New Jack City 2.
Soundstripe.
Welcome in to another episode of Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast where if you're like us and you miss the days of packed movie theaters and movie stores, and this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Caleb Suggs. Joining me is my co-host, Dakota Lowry.
Hey, what's up?
And Ernie Ferguson.
Sit your $5 butt down before I make change. Yeah, I see the wince. I changed it up a little bit.
Such a good quote. I saw that, and man, I was like, that kind of goes hard. Like,
yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes, period, right there. But yeah, that was a good, and because I just didn't think I could pull off "Rockabye Baby." I didn't think that would work out too well for me there.
I thought you might go to the end when he's like, I forget what the whole quote is, but he's like, "Hi, Mom."
Yeah.
And of course, it sounded too 90s to say like what he said at the very one of his first few lines in the beginning of the movie when they were about to drop the guy off the bridge. He said, "See ya, wouldn't want to be ya." Even though I could have sworn he said that in White Men Can't Jump. Also, I thought that must be Wesley Snipes' catchphrase or something like that.
Well, it's Wesley Snipes; he can pull it off.
Oh, Wesley Snipes! After this movie, you could have given me money anything that Wesley Snipes did, and I would have put it down and watched it. Which, by the way, I will try to make the argument that New Jack City is a prequel to Blade. That Nino Brown is Blade, and this is the redemption that Blade is going to have to go through. That's what he's trying to redeem.
Yeah, you keep pushing that, Ernie.
There's little things. There's little things.
Okay, well, as Ernie said, we are doing New Jack City. 1991, right? New Jack City.
91, yeah.
And this is Ernie's pick this week.
This is 100. This is one of those things where this is high school Ernie right here. Just because I can distinctly remember, early on, listen to music. I was very much Guns N' Roses, hair metal, stuff like that. But then somewhere in the middle of the high school, then you have this, it's called New Jack Swing. This music come around where you have Janet Jackson's Control is probably the first real big album.
This was right around the time when the NWA was getting popular, right?
Yes. I mean, that if you look at the way Nino Brown is dressed, and you look at Deion Sanders, and you look at the NBA players, you're going to see Nino Brown's character influenced a whole bunch of different things just by the way he was looking and the way he dressed. But I mean, this is where you have Boyz II Men, I think in 92, 91 start to bust out. You have Belle Biv DeVoe, you have New Edition breaking out in the individual, just this whole entire scene that where a suburbanite white kid like me really started to notice black music. And that's one thing I thought was that this movie may not be a cinema masterpiece, but it is very, very on with culture. It is a culture movie. It is something that really kind of it shows. I mean, like Flavor Flav. If this is when Flavor Flav didn't look emaciated. He didn't look like Pookie, like he does now. And so you see a lot of the culture. Whether you're talking about the dress, whether you're talking the music, just it is a big part of the 90s, that part. And this movie to me has a bunch of different levels, and not just the Blade level, but the idea of crack, the war on drugs and how it was failing. I mean, you can see that through the whole entire movie that this is a failing war throughout the whole United States. So
I just like the fact that we all have faith that Ernie's going to go on for a while. So Dakota took the time to take a phone call.
yeah. Well, you
For those of us that can't, for those that aren't able to see, Dakota's clearly taking a business call.
Okay, sorry. I'm on call at the moment, and I don't have to go into work. But I do later after we get done with this. But it's nothing pressing at the moment.
Well, that's why if you notice that I was just rambling about the same subject because I didn't want to go too, but I stuck around the culture part or the drug wars because I didn't want to go too far with it. But this is where you have like three. I can remember three distinct movies that were centered around the drug cartel type of thing in African American movies. You have New Jack City, followed by Boys in the Hood, followed by Menace to Society, and all three of them to me were really, really good. And when you get into the numbers, Caleb, it's amazing the numbers that New Jack City and Boys in the Hood pulled off with some caveats to that. But it's a very political movie too, because the opening scene when they're doing the helicopter fly through New York, you can listen to all the news clippings. It's talking about the drug problems. It's talking about how the rich are getting richer, the poor getting poorer, aka the reaction to Reaganomics and trickle down economy type of thing. You just hear about all the crack in the neighborhoods. This was a huge problem. It was and the motif of the whole entire movie, and it took a while to get there, ironically was stated by the one white character in the Judd Nelson, and we'll get back to him later on. But when he said it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's a death thing. And that's where you see a lot of the problems. I mean, I can remember this just when growing up that this was a huge issue, that the drug issues were a big issue. And and there was a lot of people dying. It's an equivalent now to the opioid crisis right now that people are seeing. But the opioid crisis gets more press right now, whether you believe it or not, because it's dealing with more white people, and the crack epidemic hit the black communities, and so you didn't see as much because the white people didn't. The white people stuck with cocaine because it was expensive and things like that, and crack was able to be cheaper, and so that hit black neighborhoods, and you can see that in these movies too.
Yeah, I think I read it somewhere that this movie was pretty loosely based on like at the real life Detroit at that time.
Yeah.
Like there was a gang in Detroit that this was pretty loosely based on. You know what I mean? It's like you said. I mean, there's still the drug epidemic going on today. And things like that. But I think this movie did a great job, like you said, portraying the real life aspect of that.
Yeah, it separates it from your run of the mill action movie where they're trying to take down a drug lord, because they actually show the impacts that drugs had. The rehab scene with Chris Rock after that is so strong. It's probably one of the best scenes in the entire movie. And just seeing the effects that those drugs can have on you, I mean, that'll make you. Yeah.
And that's one of the. And here's the thing. Again, I'm not necessarily a person that pushes this type of agenda, but I started looking at the 1992 Academy Awards for supporting actors. Jack Palance won it for City Slickers. That's fine. You had Tommy Lee Jones for JFK, and then another guy for Barton Fink. But the two I'm looking at is Harvey Keitel and Ben Kingsley for Bugsy. If you've ever seen Bugsy, you would turn it off after the first 20 minutes. It is awful. And you can't tell me that Chris Rock, a comedian that played this role of Pookie, that had the best arc of any character in this movie, shouldn't have gotten a nod, or even Wesley Snipes for Nino Brown. I mean, the movie is what the movie is. It kind of hold me to this a little bit, but it kind of reminds me of Halloween, where some of the acting wasn't very good, but some of the parts of this movie are like, man, it's out of sight. And so, to me, the Pookie or Nino Brown, the actors that portrayed both those, they deserved they deserved one of them deserved a nomination, not a win, but a nomination, at least for supporting actor. But it was a movie that was written, directed, produced by black people. It had all black stars, and one of them was a comedian. And it doesn't matter what race you are. If you're a comedian, you're probably not going to get. I mean, if you're lucky, you might get one. But but then you get the Bugsy movie. God, I can't tell you how bad that Bugsy movie is. And if any one of y'all picks it, I may protest that more than Caleb would with Forrest Gump, just because it's that awful.
So speaking of Chris Rock's character, I saw when I was looking up things about this movie that Martin Lawrence had auditioned for the same role, and from what I read about it, it said that Martin Lawrence like did significantly better in it than what Chris Rock did.
I
But
think it was his, but I think he had some issues.
yeah, he had some personal issues that come up
Yeah.
right before with I think it was a friend of his that had passed away or something. But like I kind of asked the question, like, do you think that role would have been much better with Martin Lawrence in there?
We do this with
I
every
don't-
movie.
Well,
I
don't
yeah, I
know.
know, but like
No,
Chris Rock, I think
mean,
Chris Rock did a good job in it, but I think
it would have been fine either way. I don't really think there would have been a significant difference.
Well, both of them could hit the funny parts of it. Like
yeah.
like when Pookie describes the whole entire drug part, and
Mhm.
especially the drugstore or whatever they called it. He turned in Chris Rock comedian. I have not seen anything that Martin Lawrence has been in that tells me that he can pull off a serious part. Like what you talked about with him in rehab, or when Pookie finally decides to hit the pipe again. I don't know if Martin Lawrence could do that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I thought that's. But again, if you would have asked me, I wouldn't have thought Chris Rock could have done that either at that point in time. But there is a funny thing though on Martin's TV show that they did have a scene where everybody was wearing black, like in the after they had to burn the Carter down. That kind of paid homage to him supposedly being in New Jack City. Another question that somebody, again, we asked this question is who else could play Nino Brown? Uh, Somebody talked about, like, even in future movies, did Will Smith take the roles that Wesley Snipes, shot himself in the foot for? How many actors could do drama, can do action, and can do comedy? And that's that. I mean, even that's hard to find somebody that can do all of those things.
Well, New Jack City is a 1991 American crime action film directed by Mario Van Peebles and written by Thomas Lee Wright and Barry Michael Cooper, based on a story by Wright. The film stars Wesley Snipes, Ice-T, Alan Payne, Chris Rock, Judd Nelson, Bill Cobbs, Bill Nunn, and Van Peebles. Its plot follows Nino Brown, a drug lord in New York City during the crack epidemic, and Scotty Appleton, an NYPD detective who vows to end Nino's rise to power by going undercover to work for Nino's gang. The film released at the Sundance Movie Festival January 7, 1999, and then to theaters on March 8, 1999. It grossed $47.6 million on a budget of $8 million, which is pretty wow because, I mean, I know this is probably before most of these guys' big movie, but I mean, Judd Nelson was a pretty decent name at the time, and Wesley Snipes had done a few good movies, so for $8 million budget, with some decently big names, that's pretty impressive.
See,
What's the
Rotten
Tomato score? I think is 81%. I don't know what the popcorn is.
Yeah, the popcorn is 80. So I mean, that's one of the few times we get like they're almost side by side a little bit from there. But
I have a feeling that those numbers are going to reflect in our scores. I just have that feeling. I could be wrong, but I think.
Well, you want to say dot there. I was waiting for the end of that message, but when you talk about the money, so I was interested in it to see because I looked in '91 and looking at Boys in the Hood and New Jack City. So Boys in the Hood was number 19 in gross amount of money. New Jack City was 23rd. Okay, in between that, you had Doc Hollywood, which is Michael J. Fox. You have Star Wars 4. I can't remember what that is, but so it's one of the not Star Wars, excuse me, Star Trek. Oh, forgive me, all you.
I was about to say, isn't that Empire Strikes Back?
about to say that's people are coming after me for that. And then you have Awakenings, which I think Awakenings was a Robin Williams movie. So Doc
We don't do
Hollywood,
Robin Williams movies here.
no, but Doc Hollywood was in 1,700 movie theaters. Star Trek 4 was in 2,100 movie theaters. Awakenings was in 1,300 movie theaters. Okay, so now those are the two movies that are between New Jack and Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood was in 931 theaters, and New Jack City was in 905 movie theaters. So they made about the same amount of money as all those other films, and The Awakenings was in 400 more movie theaters. So here you go again. Here are movies that that the movie theaters, the movie companies didn't pump out. I mean, they didn't. I mean, if you just get them over 1,000, both of them 1,000 theaters. Now you're talking about extra money right there too, and they would be even higher on this list because they weren't sure that black people would come and watch the movies, and that's why you'll see after '91, you'll start to see more black-led movies too, because they've noticed that, oh, hey, we can make money off of this. You know, and that's like, I mean, you look at anything in the movies, like if something like superhero movies, oh, one hit, okay, so let's make more, 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 more. Again, that's why there's no
Mhm.
creative things because we all want sequels. That's why we're getting Toy Story 5, which I'm like,
Or
okay, you should,
remakes of everything.
yeah, and so that's what I
That
thought was
which
really interesting.
didn't they just remake this or make a sequel to this or something?
I don't know. That'd be, man, God, that'd be hard to replace Wesley Snipes. Man, that'd be real tough to me. I mean, that's you look at. I mean, that's the thing is with Wesley Snipes and Chris Rock. I think G Money gets overlooked too. Alan Payne. I thought the actor that did G Money did a fantastic job, but he gets overshadowed, probably rightfully so, because most of his scenes are with Nino Brown.
Apparently, now this is just tease. I don't know if this is real or not, but somebody released a poster that says that Sterling Brown in the leading role of Nino
Mm,
Brown, taking over the role
mm.
from the original star Wesley Snipes. It seems to
Sterling
be set for
Brown.
release on Netflix sometime in 2024, but I think this is just rumors. I don't think this is actually.
I hope so. I'm so tired of movies releasing directly to Netflix.
It
Yeah,
might be a
that
TV
is
show actually.
that may
Oh,
be
it's even
now.
worse. I'm so sick of. There's too many dang TV show. You know what? I'm not gonna get on my soapbox. Go ahead, Ernie.
Well, I mean, but if it's any good though, I mean, like I'm like as we're going to diverge all the time, but that's like Harry Potter coming out, you know, but they're going to try to keep true to the book. Well, I am interested in seeing that, just as they are. I mean, I can't remember. I don't know. I can't remember if it's Netflix or somebody's doing. No, it's HBO Max that's doing a new Harry Potter series again, but they're trying to. They're gonna do like a 10 episode for each book, I think it is. And that's like for this New Jack City. If you give me the rise of Nino Brown, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, just him talking about how they became because we get
A
um
little, you get a little glimpse of it.
yeah, and he talks about his past, which again they probably should have led with an Ice-T's character. That what makes this movie even better is if Ice-T said at the beginning of the movie that Nino Brown shot his mom instead of
Ah,
waiting
oh,
to the very end. I
Oh
think
yeah.
no! Whoa, whoa, whoa,
because
whoa, whoa, whoa! No, the reveal was fantastic. What you wanted it to be said at the beginning of the
yeah,
movie?
because why, to me, why was I? I mean, Ice-T was all mad at Nino Brown,
Because he was
not
the
just
he was the leader of the. He was mad at the drug epidemic, but Nino Brown was the leader of it, or not the. But he was basically the biggest benefactor. Now I
so why not go
disagree
after the
there. I mean,
Italians then?
huh?
That's the one. Why not go after the Italians too? Because the Italians were just, I mean, they were just as big back then too. So,
Well,
but I mean, that's the only reason why I like that is because yes, he was killed by his mom was killed by a junkie, but I was like, if I would have known that earlier, it would have helped me say, okay, I can see the rage in Ice-T throughout the whole entire thing. Um, but again, but it's not a hill I'll die on. But it was something that I would prefer. Again, I like the fact that you liked it, like kind of revealing that then. So again, that's not an issue. But for me, I think having it earlier to have it push and push and push and push Ice-T, to where whenever he has that chance early on to possibly kill Nino or something like that, when he infiltrates the gang, but he doesn't, and he just kind of like has to. It makes it even harder for him to have to hold back. That he knows this is the guy that killed his mom instead of finding out. That. So again, that's just one of
And
my.
I
Well,
I
see,
would say
I think
though, having him, I mean, because it's not, yeah, he's focusing on Nino Brown, but he hates the crack epidemic or the drug epidemic in general, and so he's just going. And so by having him learn that late, it adds more fuel, because if he knows this, from the start, he's gonna have premeditated feelings and he's gonna have worked through it. But him finding out Nino had killed his mother while he's undercover, that, I mean, you're talking about, that's a lot of emotion to deal with right as you're at the height of your job.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Dakota?
I think I misunderstood. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'm a misunderstood soul all the time.
Say no. I think I misunderstood it. The movie. I thought Ice-T's character already knew that Nino Brown had killed his mother, and that's why he was working the whole movie to do it.
No, because
No,
he thought it was a junkie. He thought it was a junkie that killed his mom. And Nino comes around and he says he did it as an initiation. So that means Nino, I don't think, was a junkie. I guess he could have been a junkie, but doesn't make any sense for a gang member to be a junkie to jump into something.
He tells him when he's undercover, because he tells him the story of how he and he had to do the initiation for the gang, and he kills a school teacher, and you kind of see it on Steve's face. He's like, oh, he kind of realizes it.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand now. Also, going back to the whole New Jack City 2, that's just rumors. There's no substance to it. I did see somewhere where the writer, the person who wrote this, had they did have a prequel and a sequel in mind when they got done with this movie. It's just nothing ever came of it.
I don't know how you have a sequel to this, because, I mean, the only one left is Kareem, and he's in jail, which we'll go how he's screwed. Oh, he got screwed multiple times in this, the two cops should be in jail.
The only way I think you have a sequel to this is if you don't have Nino Brown die at the end.
Like he's a vampire?
Shut up, Ernie. We're not.
Well, no. I like just like he doesn't get shot. Like the whole thing doesn't happen, and he ends up in prison.
That's
how I think you have a sequel.
You guys overthink Hollywood these days. They would just slap some stupid story in it and call it a sequel. Okay.
Well, the problem is it can't be Nino's son, because his wife/girlfriend couldn't have a child, and he told her and he said that in front of the stripper.
Okay.
And the stripper said it back. I'm like,
let me Hollywood for you, Ernie.
Oh, here we go. Here comes Caleb's son script for New Jack 2.
It's some long lost son that he had with some random stripper on a random night. There you go. New Jack City 2. I mean, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what they do. And if you're telling me they wouldn't, you obviously aren't paying attention to movies these days.
Isn't it exactly what they did in the Creed movies?
Pretty much, yes. In the Creed movies, which I absolutely love, they just randomly decided to have Apollo have a child out of wedlock right before he gets killed. And hey, we get a whole franchise. Hey, it worked though. It's great. It's great.
It's a great franchise, but
New Jack City 2. No. Well, okay, so in the New York City neighborhood of Harlem, Nino Brown and his gang, the Cash Money Brothers, C&B, become the dominant drug ring once crack cocaine is introduced to the streets. His gang consists of Gerald G. Money Wells, his best friend since childhood, enforcer and personal bodyguard, Dunada Man, Gun Mole Keisha, Nino's girlfriend Selena Thomas, and her tech-savvy cousin, ex-bank teller Kareem Akbar. Okay, so I have several things I want to say right off the bat. First of all, when they first say Dunada Man, I about lost my crap.
Oh, absolutely.
Freaking hilarious. Because you got his stuttering before they say that his name is Dunada Man.
This is the only time in the movie that they play in, like they show the stuttering though, isn't it?
No, they showed it a couple times, because G Money makes fun of it like 2 or 3 times.
One of them makes fun of it,
One of them around the table, because he starts talking about his stuttering, and I can't. And again, I don't remember what G Money said, but G Money made fun of him multiple times about his stutter.
Oh,
No, I
it's
remember them
so
making fun of him about it. I'm just talking about like him actually stuttering. I don't remember the
Yeah,
line
no,
the last half of the movie.
it made me laugh so much because even
Oh
even
yeah,
at the
it was
end, he's like
hilarious
going
right
through
there.
all the people that died. He's going through and he's like, "Dun-a-dun, man!" Like it's so serious, and I'm just like, how could you say that with a straight face? Dun-a-dun, man is gone.
that's you know,
Also, this is the second movie now I've seen where it introduces the movie with you're about to witness the strength of street knowledge, and both movies I've seen with that have been great movies. So, if you want to have a great movie, there's your opening line.
and that's to show just the one thing I liked about Nino is that early on you see how ruthless he is. And we'll go
Mhm.
later on in the movie how even more ruthless he is. But just sitting there and just dropping this dude. I mean, give me more time. See it. Wouldn't want to be. And just drop. I mean, just drops him. And that was. I mean, that's one of those opening things. You're like, oh man, I thought they might reel him back in. And Donovan is awful strong to be holding that cat by his ankles for that long without dropping him beforehand. I would have slipped him already gone. He's gone while that lady is yelling and screaming the whole entire time. But how bad must have Keisha been to be the only woman in that gang that actually had a job? And she was the one that just pulled out the gun, shot the Rastafarian man, and just point blank just got after it. So she's got to be hard because she's the only one. There's only one person that's more lethal. I mean, lunatic, and that is Nino himself. Because G Money wasn't going to do that, and
But
Dunnaman's not going to either.
she
Dun-a-dun,
she
man.
kind of has to be though.
Yeah.
Like she has to be hard, dude. I mean, in a room full of guys, to be respected
Yes.
like that and to give that, she has to be ruthless like that.
I mean, she
She
was ready to pop the old man. She was ready to shoot the old man and kill him
Hmm.
too. Well,
she
she
went
should. Hey,
through
she knew. She knew the future. She should have.
Yep. Yep.
she went through Kevin Hart's Get Hard training in the movie Get Hard. That's how she. That's what hardened her.
Oh my word.
I did like in the scene that they bring in the Italian gangsters, so it's kind of like a little thing where you're getting to see like the more old gangster, like because you see Scarface several times. They're watching it throughout the movie, so you see that kind of gangster. Then you get to see the more new breed kind of gangster. So I like the little parallels there,
Yeah.
and
Well, I
also
mean, also the
uh,
parallels with Scarface too. Just the movie itself. You have the rise in power, of this one guy, but then he turns on his best friend like Nino does, and then that ends up being his downfall. I mean, he didn't have to turn on G Money. I mean, I know G Money screwed up a couple of times, but he didn't have to. But that ended up leading to his downfall there, and just like in Scarface.
and also did they for Kareem Akbar did they just decide to combine? So is this like if Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Admiral Akbar from Star Wars had a kid? Is that what this is?
No, this is, and I'm gonna screw this up, but this is where you start to have the not push to Africa movement, but really getting back to the African root movement in the black community in the late '80s and '90s. That's why you see, I think Ice-T, he took that medallion or that necklace off of Dino that had an Africa on it and ripped it off. You see stuff like that. So I think what you start to see also is a lot of people starting to embrace like maybe the Muslim religion, but also African names too. So I think that's where you kind of get that, which again, it also differentiates. You could tell he's not on the streets because he doesn't have G Money, he doesn't have Dunno Man. It's it's let's say Akmal Akbar, but that's a. But he's Kareem Akbar, so I mean he's got a different name. So that shows you that he is different, which should have foreshadowed his future twice in this movie. You know,
Yeah, we'll get to his future at the end, but it's pretty stupid in my opinion. But we'll get to that later. So Nino converts the Carter apartment complex into a crack house. G Money and Kesha kill rival Fat Smitty, and the CMB forces out the tenants and landlord. Meanwhile, Scotty Appleton, an undercover police detective working with the NYPD, attempts to make a deal with stick-up kid Pookie, who I don't know what that word. I don't know how to say that word. who
Absconds.
who runs away with the money. Appleton chases and shoots Pookie in the leg, but released on bail as the years pass. Nino's gang successfully runs the streets of Harlem with absolute power. I hate when these.
Okay.
I hate when
I'll say
this paragraphs they do. I mean this. So we're going with a scene that
we're
actually
going.
starts basically almost at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, we go from the
Mhm.
bridge, then we go to Scotty chasing Pookie, which that's one of those things you can tell kind of an addict over there. Pookie looking over his shoulder the whole entire time. I mean, then he snatches it. I mean, you can understand why Scotty is in trouble as a cop. I mean, he's pulling out a gun around all these different people, But I enjoyed that chase scene. One thing I enjoyed about this movie also is the close-ups of the faces of the characters, and it's not like straight on. They kind of had a tilt to the camera too, and they did that real well. And that's where you could tell that Ice-T wasn't a seasoned actor because some of his facial reactions to some things were kind of strange, but that is what it is. But I like the chase scene. I like hey, Pookie, brave man, taking a bike down those stairs because I can just.
Absolutely, he is. And let
I
me tell
mean,
you,
No,
that
he
was more
bikes so
dangerous
slow.
than going off by the railroad tracks. Just going down there, man. You do an endo on that thing, you're going front
Mhm.
end, and you're eating it over and over and over again.
those stairs were steep too.
And
The
and
And
there's
ones
then
two things that I noticed about this was either A, how fast is Scotty when running? Or B,
yes,
how slow is Pookie on this bike? Like, I'm like, dude, like you could have easily gotten at least a more distance to what you're at.
but then he shoots him in the Achilles. I'm like,
Oh
God, that's
yeah,
just ruthless.
that would hurt.
Hit the thigh or something like that, where it's like meaty. He got him right on
yeah.
the back of the heel too. And so that's the one thing you get the very beginning scene with Nino and Dunaman. Then you get Scotty and
Between
Pookie.
Nino and who?
Dunaman. That's the one thing I've seen. Man. I've seen Dunaman. I've seen. That's the
Oh,
one thing.
I wasn't saying you're wrong. I just like hearing you say it.
I will stutter, so you maybe call me Dunaman in one of these episodes. That's for sure. Uh, but that may be our clip right
Oh
there too.
man.
Uh, but then the next scene though sets up, the lifelong friendship. It tells the friendship of G Money, Dunaman, and Nino when they're in the car when he introduces the crack to Nino and stuff like that. And they're ribbing each other just like friends would do. Talking about. I mean, G Money talked about all the women and that he was going to get, and then Nino making fun of him. But this shows you where I mean, Nino didn't do everything himself. I mean, G Money's the one that brings in the moneymaker.
It's also great foreshadowing when you see just how, I mean, like brothers they are, and like they're kind of carefree, and we do anything for you, and that's great foreshadowing for what we're gonna get later, which is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of betrayal and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But
And then, I mean, golly, again, the Wikipedia review is just it's awful. But so let's go into the plan for the Carter. That that that's one of those things that a
Yeah.
lot of people talk about, like these major drug dealers that run their business like a true business, have a business plan, a business model. They go in, and they're
This
going
dude
to
had
just take it.
financial reports.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they're going to go into an apartment complex, take over the apartment. First of all, the drug dealers, they blow away the Rastafarian guy. They get the guy, I guess, to the landlord. They run him out naked in front of everybody with a shotgun to his head in front of everybody and tell them exactly what they're going to do. Then they're going into the Carter and just randomly shooting people. I don't know what the purpose of that was for, but they were getting rid of people. Then this is where Kareem Akbar comes into play because again, the computer system that makes it not just this nickel and dime type of thing. It's where you can maximize your profits and things of that nature, and they set it up. And I like I liked seeing how they took over the Carter and how they set everything up in the Carter. That again,
mhm.
it was just one of those things. It's just it was good, and that's where again that's where you see Keisha right there, ruthless as anybody else. I mean, Rasta man comes out and she just puts a gun to his head, pulls the trigger, and
uh,
doesn't think anything of it. Again,
Mhm.
in front of everybody, and they had as many witnesses, but none of them were going to tell them at all.
The scene later where I mean this is after Pookie has done rehab, which we'll get into in a minute in the next paragraph. But the scene where he's describing like the whole ins and outs of the Carter, and he talks about the courtyard like it's like a
Mm.
zombie. Oof.
Oh yeah.
Again, we're talking about this movie, what separates it from just a you run the mill action drug flick, actually showing the impacts of the drugs that it's having on this community. I
Hmm.
mean, that'll make you feel some things.
And that's just a lot like when Pookie's line where he just says, "It keeps calling me. It keeps calling me." You know, and if you've known with anybody that's dealt with any type of addiction, that is the thing. It's like it's like a siren calling them, no matter how far. And that's why it's not a problem. It's not a problem that you solve. It's a problem that you fight all the time. And that's why, and that goes back to the issue of sending Pookie back into the Carter,
Yeah.
which is
In my opinion, pretty dumb.
Which
I mean,
it
honestly.
it should tell you something that, Peretti was the only one that was against it. Well,
Hmm.
no, that's not true. Mario Van Peebles Stone was against it too,
Everybody was against it except for Appleton.
and Scotty was the only one, and because he wanted to get Nino. And even though well, now he also guilted Pookie also when he talked about that he owes it to him, he owes it to this, he owes it to my mom that got killed by some. That's where we get the backstory finally from Scotty about his mom being killed too by some crackhead. And again, that's another thing that just makes the Pookie arc so sad because you see him from the beginning. You see him running drugs, trying to do all that. You see him getting hooked. You see him getting clean. He wants to redeem himself. He starts to redeem himself, but then he gets back on the crack again, and then ends up being cut up and tied up with a bomb on him. And that was a painful thing to watch what happened to Pookie.
Uh, well, when Stone, the leader of the CMB police operation, comes under pressure from NYPD Commissioner Fred R. Price, Appleton, currently on suspension for shooting Pookie, volunteers to infiltrate Nino's gang and is partnered with loose cannon Nick Peretti. Elsewhere, mobster and tax collector Frankie Needles attempts to get protection money from Nino, who refuses to pay. While Appleton and Peretti observe Nino and his gang handing out Thanksgiving turkeys to the poor, Appleton spots Pookie, now a crack addict, and soon gets him into rehab. So first thing, I love the classic 80s, 90s. We get the classic police chief who is being hounded by the mayor and the governor, and so to solve the problem, they got to bring in the two loose cannon cops. That's just class, and it works every time. And
Yeah.
I also
Oh,
love I also love Appleton saying he can't stand this Robin Hood BS with the Thanksgiving turkeys. But I mean, I think that's a good thing because I feel like drug lords, they see themselves, hey, we're giving back to our community, right? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing, but at the end of the day, he's like the I guess who's the old man? What's his name? What's the actor's name? The old black man
Bill
in this movie?
Cobbs.
Yeah. Like he says, you're the one that's doing this to community, even though they don't see it that way.
Well, what I like about the character, what I do like about the character of the deputy chief or the Stone's boss is paying it forward to an actor that was in black exploitation movies. Movies that were like he was Blackula. That was the name of the movie that he was in, and it's just as goofy sounding as you would think. But again, it's also respect of some of Mario Van Peebles, whose dad was an actor also, of coming and saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you respect. I'm going to put you in this movie, and bring you in." And that's one of those things that I kind of like that they were able to do there. But to me, you could have taken Stone out of this. You could have taken Mario Van Peebles' character out of this and just give Scotty more screen time. Let me know more about him and let him let him go and say, "Hey, I want to try to take Nino down," in that type of thing. Because really, to me, I mean, Stone didn't do anything. All he did was get Scotty and Peretti together, and then after that, he just kind of let I can't remember what the Asian dude's name is, let them do anything. He just sat back, and so it really wasn't. He didn't add anything to the movie for me. Uh, but I mean, and that leads us to like Peretti, because this is where they talk about Peretti coming in at this point, don't they?
Ooh, I completely forgot that. Like when you first said last week that we were doing this movie, and I looked it up and I looked at the cast, I saw that Judd Nelson was in it. But when I watched this, I completely forgot that was Judd Nelson until later. I was looking back at it and I was like, oh yeah, that was Judd Nelson. Compared to previous Judd Nelson movies I had seen, he looked a lot different.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about it is, the first time we see him, he gets off the bike. He's got the combat boots that are untied, just like his character in The Breakfast Club. And so that's for people like me that have gone to see this movie. They're like, that's Judd Nelson. For other people, it didn't matter. But that's one of those pools. That's not how do you get white people to come see a black movie? Well, you put Judd Nelson in it. And so but again, what Judd Nelson's character and even Judd Nelson himself brought to the movie, he got me. I didn't understand his character in it at all. I mean, because I'm sorry, if you call a black guy high yellow, I mean, that's that when he called Ice-T that, I could have sworn the real Ice-T was going to come out and hit the real actor Judd Nelson. You know, I mean, and plus, why are you going to let a character shoot a gun off in a loft?
In a smiley face pattern.
I'm like, okay, where are the bullets going?
He
Oh,
was
exactly.
he was proving why he needed to be on this case. Clearly,
Except for he shouldn't have been a smiley face. He should have just had the mouth straight. Not
Yeah,
frown,
he
not
was
smile, just
straight
like
face the
that.
whole
no,
time.
that's not impressive. You got to curve it.
But again, I didn't particularly like the character. I don't think he gave much to it. To me, I think you get another person from the neighborhood, that the Harlem area, to really kind of put it. It's trying to get the neighborhood back to the people, which you see towards the end of the movie. The old man trying to fight it. The whole entire whenever they how they rat
Well,
Nino
you
Brown out.
get a little bit later after Pookie dies, which we'll get into in a minute. You get a little bit later
Yeah.
with the backstory where he's like, I used to be that guy, and yada yada.
Yeah.
White trash.
But
Yeah.
that up to that point, there was really no back to story to his character.
No.
It was just a white cop making racist remarks up
Yeah.
until that point.
Yes, I mean, I'm like, how did he
Yeah,
not get?
up to this.
He should have gotten thumped several times, you know. But and here's some other things that kind of happened during this time period too. Again, this goes back to the culture part of the movie. Is Nino Brown walking into the club? There's not a badder son of a gun around than when Nino Brown walked in that club. I mean, he had a champagne bottle with a straw in it. I mean, and this is also where you can where you get Flava Flav, which everybody at that time knew. You probably didn't know the MC of it, not the DJ. DJ was Flava Flav. The MC was Fab Five Freddy. If you watched Yo MTV Raps at this time, which I did, that was the host, was Fab Five Freddy, and he was recognizable. You have the group guy who got introduced. Every single member of that group got introduced by name on that stage. So again, a part of the New Jack Swing music was in that club, and it was something again, we talked about it earlier. You look at all the people, all the athletes in the early 90s, they dressed like Nino Brown, you know? And so that was something that was also, again, this shows how much of a culture influence that New Jack City had at the time too.
Well, later Pookie offers to help bring down Nino against his better judgment and the disapproval of Stone and Peretti. Appleton recruits Pookie as an informant. When Pookie relapses, G-Money realizes that he is wired and orders the Carter destroyed. Cops find Pookie's booby-trapped corpse. Peretti defuses the explosive seconds before it explodes. Nino angrily warns G-Money against repeating such a costly mistake. I'm going to go to the next paragraph, too. So after Pookie's funeral, Appleton and Peretti, no longer needed by Stone, go undercover as drug dealers after bribing Frankie. Appleton infiltrates the CMB partly due to G-Money's increasing ambition and drug use. Though Nino distrusts him, he agrees to do business. After relating an anecdote about his own violent initiation into a gang in 1974, Nino warns that he will kill both Appleton and G-Money if any problems occur. Appleton gains Nino's trust when he reveals information about G-Money's side deal and saves him from a gun-toting old man who had earlier appeared to police for help against Nino.
God, this like sped through a whole bunch of stuff. I'm trying to get it right
Yeah.
in my mind
But
as we
yeah,
do this.
we've touched on a lot of it already. You know, especially the whole rehab scene and everything with Pookie, and you know him sending him back in, and of course after Pookie dies, you know he said something about what was his quote? I lost a friend, and I'm like, you sent him in. This is your
Yeah.
fault. Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
thing they're going through. He's like, this is my fault, and Pretty's like, no, it's not your fault. I'm sitting here like, yeah, no, it's your fault.
So
No, it's 100% his fault. Yeah.
yeah, it is. I mean, that's the thing. You do all this to get him better, and then I know it was Pookie's idea, but did Scotty already have that in his mind that that's what he wanted him to do, or he was just helping him out of the kindness of his own heart, you know?
I mean, still, like, I don't know how long drug rehab takes. I mean, honestly, I'm sure it's different for most people, but like, he's taking somebody fresh out of rehab and immediately just like, hey, man, go try to get into this drug lord, and so you can help us take him down. Like,
Yeah, and then after before he does it, he gives him his whole spiel about you owe all these people he owes to. Like that's a great thing to put on a guy fresh out of rehab. Let's put all this pressure on him.
it was
I'm
obviously
sure that'll
pretty.
go well.
Who was obviously pretty addicted as well. I mean, I think Chris Rock did a great job
Yeah.
portraying, just
Well,
especially in the scene when he's in there with the woman and he starts attacking her, and like
I've never taken drugs, especially one as severe as crack, but I can imagine it doesn't take much to get addicted to it.
Yeah. I
So
mean, you can see that with G Money too. It didn't take him very much.
yeah,
But and that speaking of G Money, this is where you start to see the cracks happen with G Money
mhm.
and Nino. First with the Italians, where was it Frankie or Freddie Needles or whatever Needles guy or whatever. He's kind of he's more sympathetic to the Italians. But I'm sorry, Nino Brown. I don't know how you can still look menacing while eating a banana. But the man was eating the banana, and I was still worried about Needles. I was surprised that all he got was his ponytail cut off at that time, you
Yeah,
know. And then again, just to kind of finish the arc with that, then you have the old Italian giving the gift of that lawn jockey with the noose on it, and that told you right. And Nino said right then and there that this ain't gonna work. And Nino on a ninja motorcycle then mows them all down, which okay, you go. It's one of those things where suspend my disbelief. But again, one motorcycle, all those old Italians right there didn't have one single gun ready, But again, that again, that leads to the building of how ruthless that Nino could be, and that Nino was, and
yeah,
that even shows even more whenever when they find out about Pookie. Now, would you like for me to tell you another part of the Blade uh and New Jack City? So nope, we're not there yet. Nope, it's not at that part. Or is it? No, it's not. It's at the drug deal. I'll wait till the drug deal gets on. But you know, but that was also funny how when Pookie got high on his crack again, and he was just a dancing when they were
just
dealing
trying to
the
build
drugs.
morale,
Yeah,
have a little bit of excitement in here, like.
that was
so
kind of funny.
I'm curious in your this Blade prequel here.
Yes.
Where is it that Nino becomes half vampire? You know, because in the actual Blade Bat story, it happens when he's in the womb of his mother. That's how he
Well,
ends up. That's how he ends up half vampire, half human. But I'm curious. It's
one.
only a semi-critical detail.
No, okay. So maybe the emotional cousin of Blade, but again, he he's a daywalker, but he has sunglasses when he's all outside. But when they okay, so we'll jump ahead to the whenever they're do the transaction with Ice-T, you know, and somehow finally, Kareem recognizes Ice-T as a cop from I don't know, I think it was that was 1986 when he saw him, and we were in 1989. So 3 years later, he finally figures that Ice-T is a cop. And then when they're hunting him down, where does Nino come to get his first victim? He comes from above and drops down on the guy, and then he uses his blade again. He uses the blade once on Kareem's hand. That's what he likes, the sword. Hey, I'm just saying, it's all starting to process right there. Nino Brown is Blade. It's
It,
and he's
but
the way he's and
We'll
also
let you
okay,
keep.
and also how quick can a normal human being change out of a suit that had 12 billion buttons on it to a cop outfit just like that? Unless he was unless he was a vampire and had super speed and just could do that. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I'll tell you, I've never seen Blade, so yeah.
Whoa! What? Dakota,
So you
you're
know
a
what's coming. You know what's coming sometime soon.
I know it's coming.
you're a Marvel superhero movie fanatic. How have you never seen Blade?
When did this Marvel superhero-ness start though?
2008, 7 or 8 with the
Yeah, so
Incredible
there you
Hulk.
go. That's
MCU. It is or fantastic. I guess Fantastic Four is when it started. It just yeah.
yikes. Oh, let's fast forward.
What's wrong with the Fantastic Four movies?
The original's not great. The Silver Surfer.
I mean,
neither one of those are great. And then the reboot of it wasn't good.
Oh, the reboot's
the
terrible.
reboot. Yeah.
Well, fine, whatever.
All right, let's go.
Before we go to the next paragraph, I did think it was funny though when the old man comes in while they're having their meeting and Ice-T saves them, and he says something and he says Reverend Oates, because Reverend Oates is the preacher is there with the drug dealers, but I had to bring that up because it made me laugh when I seen it. But
this is also, you had that intense scene immediately after where he's like, what would wrong with it? But you get the whole quote with it. But I love how I think everybody recognizes how ruthless Nino is in that moment.
Oh, we're about to see a little bit. This next paragraph.
Oh yes,
we're about to see how ruthless he is.
I think me and Ernie are thinking the same thing. Well, anyways,
and also Reverend Oates is singer Ashford and Simpson. He's the Ashford part of the Simpsons. Again, your dad Caleb will probably recognize Ashford and Simpson. I don't expect you to, but again, so there's another pull in from the older generation brought into this movie.
While Nino Appleton and the CMB attend a wedding, Peretti sneaks into Nino's mansion to collect evidence. Don Amarteo, Frankie's boss, sends mobsters to kill Nino, and a massive shootout erupts when Nino uses a child as a shield. Appleton attempts to shoot Nino in the back. Keisha is killed. Later, Nino throws Selena out when she condemns his nature before killing Don Amarteo and his crew single-handedly. So, yeah, it mentions it, so we'll just go ahead and jump into it. When he goes to grab that kid, I thought, okay, he's gonna save her.
He's gonna save that kid.
Well, I mean, maybe he's not. No. Maybe he is a little bit Robin Hood. I can't. But hey, props to them. You want to make a guy seem ruthless and hate because look, like you said, this is Wesley Snipes, and Wesley Snipes in the '90s, he's a cool dude, and so you want to make people really hate him, even though he's a cool guy, cool character. I mean, he plays a cool character. Have him do something like use a little girl for a human shield. That works every time.
Help me with the timeline because again, Wikipedia is screwing my timeline. The Carter has already gone down before the wedding, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Carter went down.
So we've had that meeting after the Carter went down when everybody was dressed in black like a funeral.
Yes.
And that's when he stabs Kareem in the
that was the meeting I was talking about.
That scene where he comes in and Donovan and Keisha are scared. When Donovan and Keisha are scared and they didn't want to say anything, and this is again where I think I want to say G Money was already hitting the pipe a little bit, or it's about to happen.
I think it's a little after this, yeah.
But so G Money, he got attacked in front of everybody, and he hurt his ego, And this is but that whole entire setup with Nino, that's where you start to see, oh man, this dude ain't playing, especially when he stabbed Kareem in the hand. And he comes in with, I don't know if it's a Rottweiler or not. I was waiting for by the way, is that a worthless use of Rottweiler in a movie? That dog didn't do nothing, especially when Peretti broke into the apartment. I'm like, come on, man. You got that big, ferocious dog, and he's going to let this guy come in. The dog was probably on crack,
too.
Yeah, no, that dog's eating steak. He ain't eating like fajita meat. He's eating prime rib, and he's eating filet mignon.
He's being fed well. Why does he need to exert himself?
But now this meeting was what I was talking about with a minute ago. Was that like when you have everybody here that's like you said, this Keisha's been quiet, and all these other characters that
Yeah.
are sitting there afraid of this guy. And I mean, you've seen how ruthless everybody else is in this movie, but in this moment when everybody's afraid of him and sitting here and like, I think this is where you really start building up that like, I that his ruthlessness, but I also see you kind of see him going off the edge, and it kind of builds into his god complex where
Yes.
he's kind of like, hey, like I'm untouchable. I've had this
The
huge ring for years, and they still didn't catch me even after they raided me. Like,
the
I
power
think,
has definitely gone to his head at this
oh
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
at this head, I think he is full. Like, and I think even G Money kind of does this. There's a scene right here where he says, where G Money's sitting there and he says, about the oh man, it's the thing they said before weddings. Like I pronounce you husband and wife. It's like the power invested in me by God or something like that. But he says the power invested in me by G Money. Like they really all really just think that they're gods in this city, and they're like you know on top of the world. That nobody could touch them.
Well, this is the wedding's also after Ice-T tells him about G Money's trying to make the side deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but
Well, that's you get the what was their quote that he said at the very beginning of the movie when they all came together? Like, oh man, it's about us, or no, what is man? I even meant to write that down, and I can't find. Oh, am I my brother's keeper? That's where again,
yeah,
that's where you start to see that was their big thing at the very beginning of the movie. Am I my brother's keeper? And then you start to see that. I mean, no, I mean they said yes, but Nino Brown is starting to go. I mean, especially when Keisha died. He was already starting to lose it when the Carter got torched. But then when Keisha died,
hmm
then that's where Nino I think really had started going. He went off the deep end.
also, look, I don't have like history and experience in mafia and gang dealings, but is it really smart after you just done this super big hit on a rival gang to just be sitting outside the tea shop in broad daylight and just right there out in the open where
I,
anybody can do a drive by? I look,
which one
I'm
of y'all
no,
said God complex? I mean that
yeah,
goes not just to
yeah,
Nino.
yeah. Well, I'm no Al
yeah.
Capone, but that don't seem very smart to me.
No, and at least I'm sitting with a bunch of people in front of me. Again, we've already used little girls as human shields. Why not use some big fat Italian guys to sit in front of you to be human
hmm
shields? You know?
Well, Stone, Appleton, and Peretti arrange a sting operation to nab Nino. Kareem, aware of Appleton and Pookie's connection, exposes the former, and a shootout ensues. Peretti saves Appleton by killing the Dunedin man, and Nino escapes the night. Nino confronts and regretfully kills G Money. After the gangs collapse, Nino holds up an apartment and continues his criminal empire solo. Appleton and Peretti and the police assault the complex, where Appleton brutally beats Nino, revealing that it was his mother whom Nino killed in his gang initiation. Peretti dissuades Appleton from killing Nino, who is taken into custody, and who also says, "I'll be out in a week."
Yeah.
You know, just with this part, we've already talked about them getting revenge and everything like that. But if I'm Kareem and I recognize it, why yell, he's 5-0? Why not go, hey, Nino, man, I got cop. Or they can just, they can take him out before all the police come in. That way Nino doesn't have to show that he's Blade later on in this chase scene. You know, but that's another way that Kareem screwed up. But then after this, before we get Nino's beat down, the scene with Nino and G Money on the roof and the tears that Wesley Snipes produces, you're thinking, oh, he's going to let him go. When those tears came down at first, I was like, he's going to let him go. Then when he hugged, I was like, okay, he's going to go to the knife. And he's going to kill him like that, like he's already seen.
Uh,
But no, when he backs up and he pulls the gun out and points it at him, you're like, Nino is full Nino. You messed up. This is business. It's not personal. Which to me, I think he's lying. I think it's partially business because G Money did screw up, and one of the big things is don't hit the pipe too. Don't touch the product. You know, but he also, I think it was personal. But that scene, the three scenes that stick out in my mind: Pookie going through withdrawal and hitting the pipe. So I kind of combine those two. It's kind of the same thing.
The whole
The
rehab scene, just pretty much.
yeah, the funeral type of scene after the Carter goes down, and then this with G Money and Nino.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God, Wesley Snipes was good in this movie.
That whole
Yeah.
image of him crying while he's pointing the gun. I mean, it's a complete meme now. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why I told Dakota
Yeah.
when he hadn't seen this movie, I was like, I'm sure you've seen this meme though,
Yeah.
because. But
Yeah,
you're right.
I've
I
definitely
mean,
seen it. Yeah.
it's a very powerful scene, and Wesley Snipes does a great job with it because Wesley Snipes is a great actor, especially when he wants to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not chased by the IRS. Pay your taxes, children. Pay your taxes.
So, at his trial, Nino pleads guilty to a lesser charge, claims to have been forced to help the gang due to threats, and identifies Kareem as the leader. He is sentenced to only a year in jail. As Nino speaks with reporters outside the courtroom, the old man confronts and fatally shoots him in the chest, causing Nino to fall over a balcony to his death. Appleton and Peretti leave satisfied as onlookers look down at Nino's dead body. So I'm really glad they did the courtroom scene, the trial scene, as opposed to just letting the movie end with them capturing Nino. Because again, we're talking about a movie that's showing the real impacts of the drug and the crack epidemic and what it was doing, not just your run of the mill action movie. But that being said, I just have a problem with him being like in court and he's like, Kareem's the leader, and then that's it.
Well, Kareem was on the video with Pookie. Pookie had that belt with the camera. Kareem was already in there. So, they already had. Why is Kareem dumb enough to be in the courtroom?
Yeah, I don't even. I don't know.
Again, what this shows you is the intelligence of Nino, because he threw Kareem under the bus. I'm not going down for all y'all. He knew what was going to happen. 12 months. He's an all-star in jail, and he's going to go right back to what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if that shows intelligence, because I feel like anybody in that position would try to push the blame on someone else. I feel like it shows the stupidity of the legal system in this movie to just say, "Oh, okay, it's this guy."
Well, does it show the stupidity of the legal system, or does it show his intelligence about the legal system? Did he go?
We'll go with both as an answer.
Like you said, he's already, like we mentioned earlier, he's already set up this whole business as a business. This whole drugs thing as a business.
Nino's proud to be an American. Okay.
You look at that speech he said. He says, you're the ones that's guilty. Lawmakers, the politicians, the Colombian drug lords, all you who lobby against drugs, making drugs legal, just like you did with alcohol during Prohibition. You're the ones who's guilty. He said, ain't no Uzi made in Harlem. No one here owns poppy fields. This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is a big business. This is the American way. That speech, again, along with Peretti's about, it's not a black thing, white thing, it's a death thing. That's exactly right. That it hit the nail on the head. So, and plus we go back to the legal system. Is any evidence that they got on Nino going to be allowed in court? Because Peretti broke into a house, broke into a safe without any warrant. Scotty threw him off a third-story balcony and then jumped off that third-story balcony, beat the ever-living soup out of him. I don't think his Miranda rights were ever read either. So, if we want to play the legal game, I don't think Nino's going anywhere because all that stuff's thrown out.
Yeah.
But
which is why I kind of like the fact that, he did admit, he admitted he was guilty to a lesser charge, which is kind of light. I think I honestly would have been all right with it just ending the movie without him dying right there and them just going to prison and just kind of showing the.
I don't know, getting the look of Appleton and Peretti.
It was satisfying. I'm not saying it wasn't,
because what did Nino do when they got the lesser charge? Nino was smiling at them because Nino knew. Yeah. I got him. Like I said, he said he can do a year. I can do a year in prison. That just makes me even more popular. And then the smile, especially the smile that Peretti had, it was like, okay, these dudes are sick. But they just kind of, Peretti's grin was real big. So now I could have done along without the epilogue that talking about these are real life stories and stuff like that. I mean, yes, I know. Then it starts to get pretentious whenever they ended the movie like that. Should have just ended the movie with Nino Brown looking straight up dead and everybody else looking down on him. That was a great shot, and then they ruined it with
Yeah.
the epilogue.
Well, hey, we got to say no to drugs, okay? It's important. We got to put this in this movie, okay?
Yes.
It's like when this movie does not glorify the using of drugs. As we just killed a drug dealer, we got to make sure people understand that.
But that's the thing in all this, and here's the thing about the movie: nobody won the movie. Nobody won. The police didn't win because Peretti and Scotty probably should be going to jail for what they did. The lawyers didn't get anything done. You know, nobody on the cartel side of it's left to do anything with it. The old man who kills Nito, he's probably going to jail too. So,
Regardless of who he killed.
and then what's going to happen, that somebody will just pick up right where Nino left off.
And look, as far as the epilogue goes, I mean, yeah, the epilogue may be stupid, but again, we're talking about a movie that's trying to show the real life impacts of drugs. I mean, that's a pretty good way to show it with everything you just said. It's pretty realistic.
Which is why I think, like, as far as I go, like, leaving him, I know as far as movie goes, like seeing the satisfaction of him dying and everything, like, like, that's great. But as far as like if you're wanting to make this movie realistic and show people like realism, like, hey, like this dude got off with the lesser charge. You can't pin him really anything else. Like
Dakota's just so mad there's not a new Jack City 2. He must have really liked this movie.
All right,
he is fed up with the fact that
no,
Brown...
Ferg has sold me. He is Blade, and he's coming back in New Jack City too.
Nino Brown is Blade. I got a convert. We got it. It's Nino Brown is Blade, and that's for somebody that hadn't seen Blade, so it's true.
Look,
what I like about this, and I wish people could see this, is the absolute disgust on Caleb's face every time I mention this. He is truly, y'all. It's priceless. One of these days we'll put this stuff on YouTube because Caleb's facial expressions when me or Dakota said something that he just absolutely can't stand. There is visceral disgust on his face whenever we say that. That's why I keep on harping on this, because it's so great just to watch his face react to, you bunch of morons. This is just, y'all are just stupid. That's it's priceless. I like it.
We have already seen what happens to Nino Brown after this. A year later, he's hustling people in basketball, and white men can't jump. Okay, there's your sequel.
Speaking of that scene, didn't he tell G Money to take him down the block? And apparently down the block is just across the basketball court.
Hey, well, they gotta get down the block, okay?
Yeah, you got to get out of the basketball court, but
of course, you got to go the opposite way of where you came into the basketball court.
Yeah, you didn't walk through the entrance; you walked away from it, and you didn't go down the block.
I mean, we won't talk about how G Money brought Pookie in, who was a police informant, and then Nino not having any issues with G Money bringing another guy in. I mean, don't you think you start worrying about who G Money's bringing in? So that that kind of defeats the intelligence part, I guess, of Nino. So here's a question for y'all that, I mean, sometimes I've wanted to ask this for other movies, is who do you think the MVP of this movie was?
Snipes. It's always Wesley Snipes. No, I mean, the actor or the character?
Who won the movie? Yeah, I guess the actor.
Nobody wins the movie. We just discussed that.
No, yeah, I guess so. The actor.
Actor-wise, it's Wesley Snipes.
You're thinking, Dakota. I know.
I'm thinking.
I get it. I mean, this is one of those questions you want to be like. You want to be like, let's look here. Russell Wong is Park. I don't even know who Park is, but he want to be like, that's the MVP because of one scene. But let's not overthink this. It's Wesley Snipes.
I mean, to me, there's a 1A and a 1B. Or a close second. I think Wesley Snipes won this movie, but Chris Rock, again, you can't tell me anybody was expecting anything out of Chris Rock like this coming into this movie. Again, I think Wesley Snipes for sure, because this makes Wesley Snipes a headlining black actor, which at this point in time is big. But this also, I mean, Chris Rock goes from some just like Flunky on Saturday Night Live. I don't know if he was even as Flunky on Saturday Night Live because he wasn't on Saturday Night Live very long. But to what he produced, I thought he did a good job. But yeah, to me, yeah, it's Wesley Snipes on this.
Let's be honest, okay? The real MVP is Donna Man. Okay, that's your MVP. Right
I was really going back and forth between Chris Rock and Wesley Snipes. That's who I was trying to debate. I was debating between.
I don't know. You got to put Judd Nelson in there too. He tried to cram as many racist remarks into a movie as he could.
Is that a black thing?
Is that a black thing?
All right, so that brings to an end our movie reviewing part of the portion. Now, time to go into our rankings. Since I went first the last 2 weeks, I choose to go last. And that is
it's my movie, so I mean
that is the decree that I hand down.
You did jump ahead for Jumanji though. You didn't even give Dakota a chance to go first. You were so ready to bury it. You were like, I'm kicking the door down and saying this is a 6. I mean, you were chomping at the bit to flunk that sucker. That's for sure.
I probably didn't go low enough, if we're being honest. I only went. I stayed at 6 because Robin Williams. I respect him too much. Rest in peace. But Ernie, we'll let you go.
So yeah, this is mine again. I picked this again because I mean I graduated in 1992, so 91. This is right up. That shows you how old I am compared to y'all too. But this is right up my alley. Again, this is it's not a movie masterpiece, but as far as a cultural movie, it hit the culture of the time. And then, like I said, Wesley Snipes and Chris Rock, their performance, and even Alan Payne for G Money did a fantastic job. And I think I bumped it up a notch in my head than what I was originally going to put it. And this may be too high, but I mean, I think it's an 8.25 is what I have.
I guess you're good.
Caleb wants to go last, so
yeah, I want to go last because I've been going back and forth between my ranking for 3 days now. So
it's probably he's doing like we do, like we look at everybody else's ranking. Okay, I'm going to change
this. I need. Yeah, I'm trying to copy someone's homework, so I need Dakota to go first. Now, granted, if I did want to copy someone's homework in high school, it would have been Dakota. So
what?
Why'd you say it like that, Ferg? Why'd you say it like that?
No, I took it as a diss to me. I mean, I was only number 10 out of 315 students in my class.
Well,
I had an appointment to West Point and Air Force Academy.
I'm an idiot. I wasn't dissing you, Ferg. I was just talking about Dakota. I wasn't really thinking about you, Ferg, because actually graduated in the same class as Dakota, where, again, Ferg, I'm not trying to make you feel old, but you graduated 5 years before we were born.
Oh, I know. So, well, I taught Dakota, so I understand how old I am.
Okay. You did. All right. Rankings. Man, I sit down and watching this movie. I'll be honest, probably not something I would just pick up and watch just by myself. Honestly, if we hadn't been doing this, I probably wouldn't have watched this movie. I don't know if ever. I don't think I would ever have just looked at it. Looking at Wesley Snipes' movies, I've seen 2 of his movies, and 2 of them have been because of this podcast, Major League and this movie. That said, though, like I still think this was a really good movie. And I really enjoyed it the entire time that I was watching it. I laughed, and it really had me holding on there at the end. Kind of waiting to see like what's Scotty going to do. I appreciated his patience throughout that whole movie, his patience, and then finally at the end of the movie, him getting, what he's been looking for the entire movie, and I feel like they did a really good job building the tension, using the characters, using the actors, and I mean that being said, I think I'm going to give this a 7.75 because there's some people who really like this movie. The people who really like it, and the people who don't just, they don't. But, that being said, like I said, I did enjoy it. And, I'd probably sit down at some point again and just, maybe if it was on or if I wanted to show it to Kamei or something, I'd probably recommend it.
Yeah, so again, I was kind of in between, and also to go back to my prediction from earlier in the movie, I thought that so it was 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then the fan score was 80. I thought that would be pretty indicative of our scores, and so far that is. So
That's
because between 7.75 and because I would think 80, 81, that's an 8,
Yeah.
8 out of 10. So in between 7.75 and 8.25 is an 8. I'm not a math major, but I think that's correct. So
Yes,
again,
None of us are.
right on the money with there. And look, I was between 7.5 and 8, and again, this movie it's good. It's not like something superb, but you just get some great acting and Wesley Snipes. I'm just look. This movie is really great. Blade, White Man Can't Jump, Major League,
Mm-hmm.
U.S. Marshals. I could go on and on. There's a lot of movies of his that I like, especially and most of them are in the '90s. So trying to make my prediction, I really went back to. So this was a movie that Ferg brought out that me and Dakota hadn't, neither one of us has seen, and Ferg loves to do that. And
never heard of it.
But I went back to the other movie that was similar to that, which was Usual Suspects. Again, a movie that me and Dakota had never heard of. And I looked at it and I gave that a 7.5. I think this movie is better than Usual Suspects, so I'm going to give it a
Really?
7.75.
I'll tell you what, both of y'all surprised me. Because I truly thought that for y'all, it was going to be, for both of y'all, it was going to be somewhere in the 6s. Just because, again, I was thinking, okay, it's my past. That's what I thought of, and that really kind of surprises me, because I was debating again. I debate every single time because I do want to see. I want y'all to see movies that are out of your comfort zone or out of what you normally have. And again, when you said that the 80 or 81 was kind of going to be, foreshadowing, that really surprised me because I didn't think so. Because again, I thought y'all were both going to be in the 6s somewhere.
I think you
So
underestimated my admiration of Wesley Snipes, especially in this time period. If you want to get me to watch a movie outside my comfort zone, Wesley Snipes movie is not it.
well, I mean, just the movies that you stated right now. I mean, White Men Can't Jump, U.S. Marshals. You have. I mean, even I think it was Mo Better Blues, New Jack City, Major League. I mean,
we can't forget Demolition Man.
You see, again, Demolition Man. It's not a great movie, but man, it's a fun movie.
Oh, it's completely stupid and nothing like I thought
Yes.
it was going to be. But it was stupid.
Great.
It was stupid fun. Just because something's stupid doesn't mean it's not fun.
Amen to that. That's what I'm all for that.
So all right, so that 7.5 is an 8.25. I think that is that an 8. I don't.
It's a 7.92.
It's a little over 8.
It's a 7.9.
Oh, you said a 7.75, right?
Yeah, we both said 7.75,
and I said 8.25.
Yeah.
That's a 7.92.
Okay, like I said, I'm not a math major.
So that puts.
I don't know of anybody that could do this off the top of their head. Okay.
That puts It puts it at number 12 on our list. Number 12 out of 20. That puts it right below Twister, and here you go, right above Major League. So
12 out of 18.
Well, no, because 8 repeats and 2 repeats. So this is I believe our 20th movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I see it now.
I went in and changed it because originally it was just 1, 2, 3, 4. But we had a couple movies.
Episode,
this is 19. This is 19, isn't it?
Oh, no, we can't count. We'll go back and hold on.
Let's count it real quick. 1, 2,
1, 2,
3,
3,
with my counting?
4, 5.
No, this is 18. Okay, you're right. Because stupid me.
18. Yeah.
Because when we go from 2, we go to 4. We don't go 2, 3. Because again, none of us are math majors.
Fun fact: I was a math major for 3 days, and then I sat down to Calc 2, and I said, "Nope, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life."
Man,
but I also think like
it means Dakota gets the 20th movie. Why does he get all the anniversary movies?
Which and I think also for like
25th is yours, so I mean,
awesome.
There you go.
What day is that? It was going to
be 7 weeks from now.
That's New Year's. That's January 2nd. If we produce one, that's January 2nd. So you can have a Y2K movie if you want to. Which means nothing to y'all, which makes me sad. Y'all need to have the Y2K.
I know what Y2K is.
Yes, but you didn't live through it, so
no, we didn't. Which it was a real crisis.
That's wrong. Okay, we did live through it. We just were like 3 or 4 years older. So
exactly.
So
what's the next movie, Caleb? Oh, go ahead. What?
Dakota has
Ernie?
something he's been trying to say. Okay, so quit interrupting him, Ernie.
Yeah, Caleb, stop
I
interrupting Dakota
I
when he's
don't
talking.
care. I do think you also just I think you're looking at this as from my personal taste, and at least when I'm trying to rate movies, I try not to rate movies necessarily. I know my personal taste like affects movies,
Yeah.
but I try to look at movies objectively. You know, how well is the acting done in this? How well is the everything portrayed? How well is the writing? How well is the like things done? And at least I don't know how y'all do y'all's rankings, but at least me, that's how I try to look at movies and try to give the rankings off of that.
I have
If there's
absolutely
something,
no blueprint in how I rate movies. It changes from week to week.
well, I agree with that. But the Judd Nelson and the Ice-T acting made me at one point in time. I was below an 8 at one point in time because of that. But the more and more that I saw of Chris Rock, and the more and more I saw of Wesley Snipes, I was, and again, just and remembering 91 and remembering all the culture and that type of stuff, I was like, yeah, that's what led
So
me to over 8.
I think I've learned something in these 18 right 18 episodes that we've done.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, it is. I counted.
I don't unless it's really really bad acting. I don't seem to notice bad acting like you two do. Now I notice really good acting, but if it's below average acting, I don't feel like it sticks out to me. Like, and that's
Yeah.
not me saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying
No,
because like y'all were talking about Halloween. Now, granted, Halloween is obviously a personal movie to me because of my dad and everything, and I grew up on it. But still, you are talking about the bad acting in it, and I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it's bad acting, but it didn't stick out to me like it seemed to stuck out to you two. And again,
yeah,
look, Ice-T and Judd Nelson in this may not be the best, but it didn't stand out to me as bad acting.
Yeah,
no,
it didn't really as much in this movie to me. Obviously, they were not as up to par as what Chris Rock and Wesley Snipes were,
yeah.
but I mean, I didn't think they were awful in it.
I guess more for Judd Nelson. He just seemed like a character they just like literally just put in there so they could have a
Yeah,
white guy
and
in
I
there.
don't.
Was
I
that
don't.
really
I don't.
Judd
Yeah,
Nelson's
I don't
fault, or
really
is
know
that
if that was.
Rodgers?
Yeah, that's
No,
more
but
of his character that's written instead of
yeah,
his specific. I mean, acting wise, he probably did. He probably made the character seem better than it was written.
yeah, they
If you
probably
think
just
about
did
it,
exactly what it's told. But you could tell. I mean, you could see there were certain times of Ice-T was like you could tell that he was a young actor in this, and that he's
Yeah,
gotten, especially if you watched him in Law and Order. I mean, goodness, he's really good in Law and Order. But you could tell, I mean, how young he was here, and it was due to him, but again, you could tell that he was just raw. But again,
shoot, what
looking
did
at
he
the
do
difference
before
between Chris,
this?
huh?
What did he do before this? I don't even.
Oh, he was
Not
himself and stuff like
not
Breaking
nothing.
Two
Nothing
and something
very.
else.
Yeah, nothing very.
No,
Remember.
he was a rapper. I mean he is a rapper. So but again, you could see the growth. I could see the growth in Ice-T as he went on, and he became more himself instead of being stiff in the person that he was. But again, yeah, I don't know if just stuff like that, just some stuff sticks out to me. But that's what I like about this because the three of us have different things that pop out at us when we're
Mhm.
watching this, and we don't all think alike. And that because that would make this a boring podcast if we couldn't talk about how New Jack City and Blade were connected with each other.
There it is. There it is.
Yep, disgusted, disgust right there, and
We just
that's
did a
where we.
screw. We just did a screenshot of that right there with me laughing, Suggs with his head in his hands, and you talking, and that's going to be our profile picture right there.
So to get us on, Caleb, you have the pick for next week's movie. What's next week's movie going to be?
Well, going into this episode, I still hadn't picked. I told you I was deciding from three, and then I hear Dakota hasn't seen Blade, and that really made me. But as much as I would like to do Blade next week, I don't want to do two movies headlined by the same actor in a row. So let's go Batman. That was one of the three I was going. So 1989's Batman. We haven't done a superhero movie yet. Now, granted, superhero movies are more of a 2000s to present thing, so there's not a lot to pick from in the 80s, 90s that are there's not a lot to pick from that are good, at least.
Mhm.
But I would say 1989's Batman is definitely one of the ones that's good. So let's do that one. I think that one's going to be pretty fun, and Blade will definitely be down the line because it really hurts my soul that Dakota hasn't seen a lot of movies, and that's part of the why we started this podcast. But him being a Marvel guy, I would have thought he had seen Blade. So
it's been on our watch list for a long time.
Well, I'll be honest.
This watch list of yours is, I mean, I think it's got to be about 500 movies long, because every time we bring up a movie, you're like, it's on the list. And I'm just, what?
You should.
What's the list? The National Film Registry?
Hey! You need to look at my IMDb watch list. It's pretty long.
I just would like to have your watch list. What have you watched? And I'm thinking I'm seeing 18 movies that you've watched in your lifetime. And so
it is no. I've watched more than that. Okay.
According to last week, he had 3 DVDs when he was a kid, and Jumanji was one. So I mean,
apparently it was in the cheap bin at Walmart. And that's why my parents got it.
I can't imagine why Jumanji was in the cheap bin.
And I will say, I do remember when we were kids, we would go to Blockbuster or Movie Gallery or whichever one, And I remember my parents would let us pick out one movie, and I don't remember exactly what I would always pick, but I do remember going up there, and I remember that time. And
you had to be like one of them. You had to be like one of those losers to pick the same movie every time, right?
I had to be. Man. I had to, honestly, he's not wrong. I had to be.
Ernie, you just stop.
I would like to know which one you picked all the time. Is what I would like to know.
The amount of ribbing that goes on between me and Dakota when you're not around, Ernie, you do not realize.
Well, I've heard it from one side. I haven't heard it. I'm still waiting for Dakota to fire off.
He keeps it on par in the podcast, so he comes off as the white knight.
No, I'm the victim. I'm the victim here.
He's the victim. He's the white knight. I'm the Joker. I like chaos.
Evidently you don't, because you don't like my New Jack City and Blade references. That
I like chaos, not stupidity.
If that's not chaos, that's chaos. Tell me you see Nino Brown dropping from the ceiling and don't think Blade.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't think Blade, because it's the same dang actor, Ernie.
Again.
A dude hung upside down, and I was like, "Hey, that's kind of ninja type stuff right there."
It's Wesley Snipes and sunglasses, of course. I mean, why would I not think of Blade? It's so
okay. So you're a denier. You're a flat earther. I can see how it is.
I know you just not call.
You heard it here first, folks. Caleb is a flat earther.
There's another clip right there.
Next week is
disgust.
Next week is Batman. I'm looking forward to that, because I have a feeling we're gonna dive off into some serious discussions that don't necessarily have to do with the movie.
What else is new?
That's true.
New Jack City Blade.
We did. We did talk. What was it we talked about earlier in this podcast? We got off on some. I can't remember what it was.
Who knows?
It was like an hour and a half ago of Ernie talking. So.
That's just me now.
You're right. I'm sorry. It's only 75% you.
Exactly. That's not all me.
All right. So, anything to add? Batman's next week. Again, if you would like to listen to these episodes, they're available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and one day they will be available at YouTube. We're going to save that for like the 50th episode special or something. If you would like to leave a review, please do, but only if it's 5 stars, because we can't take our hearts being broken. And again, we appreciate everyone that's listened to us. We are getting really close to 400 total listens, which again may not seem impressive, but we really appreciate that. And guys, you have anything to add?
Yeah.
We'll see you at the movies. I'm Batman.